Welcome to the fascinating world of traffic signals. Today we are responding to another call at one of the intersections we maintain about all the vehicle detection not working and what was in flash earlier due to issues with this controller and believed to be technical issues with a lightning storm that recently came through. And what it looks to be is these ports on these two iTerra CCUs, they seem to be out. We have two new CCUs in the truck. We're probably gonna swap out while we can and get these ones sent off and repaired. The controller's back up and running like it should be. We had to take off the back plate and remove the power supply and then let it sit for a little while, rehooked it up, and it started working again like it should. We were out here previously today, but I am going to swap out these two iTerra CCUs and see if we can't get the cameras back online. And also one of the cameras out there, you can see when it gets plugged in, you'll see that little indication light. It's working this time. So what that means is there is probably a little bit of water inside the connector on the camera end. And earlier when that was being plugged in, it was shorting out, causing it to, these indication lights to just turn off. It's a pretty common issue. Even before we go and grab the laptop out and get hooked up to these iTerra devices, you'll kind of see that this orange indication light, it's sitting there flickering a bunch, probably hard to tell in video. Then you can also see this screen go through, probably hard to tell in video as well. And you can tell that the camera 3, this camera here, it's still not getting picked up, so still not finding that camera. So definitely gonna be an issue over on the camera's end. I have a new one with me in case we need to swap it. If not, we're gonna just do that end, get it hooked back up. I'm sure there's some water in that end, it's pretty common. And then let's get everything sorted out at this intersection. All right guys, so a good power reset on the two iTerra CCUs, and the TS2 part of it is back up and running. It's communicating and putting in calls to the controller. So I'm not gonna replace the two CCUs. I brought out a couple with me just in case these were both bad. Not gonna replace them now if they're communicating properly to the controller and allow that to do what it's gonna do. But as you can see, one of the video feeds is all blurry, and this really shows usually a bad connection, but I've also had bad cameras that do this. So I'm gonna go up there and change out the connector on that Cat 5 that runs to this camera, see if it works better. If that doesn't solve the issue, then I need to just replace the camera and we'll do that. So for now, all of this work is gonna be aerial. My guys are getting set up in the bucket truck over there. I'm gonna go hop in it and go work on that camera. I'll keep y'all updated. Hopefully don't have to replace these guys. Let's do it. All right, we are at said camera, and this is kind of what they look like up in the air. And all we're gonna do is go ahead and remove this Cat 5 out from the bottom, see if that connector's full of water. And if it is, we're gonna replace it. If it isn't, then more than likely it's gonna be a camera issue and we'll replace the camera. But I'm gonna do the crimp first, check it down on the ground, see if it's working like it should. If it's not, then we'll get to replacing the camera. But let's get this done first. As you can see, it's kind of hard to tell. As you can tell, there's water already coming out from the bottom of this. So this crimp is definitely full of water. It's definitely what's causing the short. So we're gonna redo the end, get it hooked back up, and I'm about 100% positive this camera's gonna come back online and work just fine. But it's one of the more things you gotta worry about with aerial stuff instead of, you know, inductive loops. Inductive loops really are not prone to having so many issues, where these cameras is just a mess of issues usually. But let's get to this real quick. As you can see, this is the connector that was on the camera when I showed up. This is the new one I put on, but you can see how corroded and how damaged this connector is. And that's just from water getting inside of the connector itself. And then all the pins and everything getting corroded. So about confident as it can get that that was the issue. Let's go ahead and throw this away. Cut off about an extra 1.5 feet of cable off of this as well. Got as much moisture out as possible. Now we're gonna hook this back up to the camera. And as you can see, that connector was the issue. This is the camera I just changed out connectors on. And as you can see now, I mean, besides it refreshing and kind of reconfiguring itself back out, it is working like it should. It should stop doing this pretty soon. And the CCUs are still working on TS2. Now when I went and redid that connector, when I came back, they dropped off, they weren't working again. So now I do have to sit here and wait for a little bit. I'm gonna give it a little bit of time, and if these stay running for say a half hour or something, I'm probably just gonna leave it to it and let it work like it should. But you can see all the calls on the controller dropped. This intersection detection's working like it should again, and they shouldn't have as many issues anymore. So hopefully it stays working. If not, this video will continue. And almost forgot, in the meantime, while we watch this, let's go ahead and put this back panel back on this controller. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the intersection into flash. It's flashing now, and I can go ahead and disconnect everything off this controller. I'll pull it out, put it on the shelf, reattach this back plate, and then reinstall it. So let's do that real quick. This is actually what the inside of one of these signal controllers look like. As you can see, that's the power board in there, and you got your Raspberry Pi in there. You got your whole 9 yards to run an intersection. Let's get this back cover back onto this guy and then get it back installed. This is pretty simple to remove. It's just a bunch of thumb screws. And by the way, that was not a Raspberry Pi in there. Just joking about that. But it would be funny. And look at that, the TS2 options came back on. These little indication lights that say TS2 beside it. So the CCUs are still working, the controller's still working, MMU's working. Let's take this thing out of flash. It's gonna go out of flash here in a couple seconds. It's gonna boot out. Let's see if it runs like it should. It's back out of flash. The intersection's running like it should. And there we go. Now I'm gonna continue to watch this, monitor it before I leave out, make sure these are working 100%. But it looks like all of our issues are solved here at this intersection, and it's good to go. So as always, thanks for watching.